I've been playing around recently a little bit with time-lapse photography, and I have some files here on my desktop, Time-Lapse 1, Time-Lapse 2, and Time-Lapse 3. And what these are photos at a lake, and it was a windy day and a cloudy day, so I got some pretty nice looking images of the clouds moving, the trees moving, other plants moving. In the file Time-Lapse 2 is actually a bunch of pictures of a redbud tree, and you can see that it's in bloom a little bit in the pictures, and you can see the clouds moving in the background. And the third one is just another view lakeside with a bunch of weeds that were blowing around, and you can see the clouds moving really well. What I wanted to share with everybody is how you can take your full pictures and do a time-lapse recording, and then you can add movement using your video editing software. You can actually add panning and zooming in and out of your time-lapse to give some additional movement to the time-lapse photography as you put together your video clips. The program I've been using to do the time-lapse motion pictures is Kdenlive. And I'm going to go ahead and open that up and get this started here. Kdenlive is a Linux-based video editing software, and it's totally free. There are beta versions, I believe, for Windows and Mac. I use a Linux-based operating system anyway most of the time, so I just use Kdenlive in the Linux. I've not tried to use Kdenlive with Windows or Mac, but apparently you can. So to get this started, I'm just going to go into the project bin here, and I'm going to use this drop down arrow and go to add slideshow clip. And when I do that, I'm going to come browse to my Time-Lapse 1 folder that's on my desktop, and I'm just going to hit the choose button, and that brings all these files, all these JPEG files up in the list here. And it shows that there were 70 images found in that file. Now, in order to make these images kind of come together as a video clip, I'm going to come up here to the frame duration, and I'm just going to set this to frames. And I've been playing around with this a little bit, and for the way I took these photos, it looks best to me if I set it to 4 frames per clip. So each JPEG will take up 4 frames of space on the video file. Alright, so I've got that set now to 4 frames. So now this shows up over here in my project bin. I'm just going to drag it down to my video line, and I'm going to play that back, and you can see a preview up here. You can see the motion in the clouds. But what we have here is some bars on the sides, which I don't really like that. You could render this as is, and it would give you your motion clip. But what I'm going to do instead is actually highlight the clip, and I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to do a few things to this to make it more interesting to me anyway, visually. I want to go to the crop and transform, and I'm going to go to pan and zoom, and I'm just going to drag that onto that clip. Now, once you get your pan and zoom dialog opened up, there are a lot of options here. You can align left, you can center horizontally, align right, align top, center vertically, align bottom, adjust to original size, adjust and center and frame, fit to width, and fit to height. So I've played around with this clip some, and I kind of like, on this particular clip, I kind of like to start the frame over in the upper left hand corner and then bring it down towards the center and then down towards the bottom. So when you do this, you'll have motion in addition to the motion of the clips being played back to back. Otherwise, if you just do the time lapse, everything is still. Your camera doesn't move, so your images just play back as they're stitched together. What you can do here, though, is because your photo resolution is going to be much higher than your video resolution. For example, I'm using 1920 by 1080. I'm doing 1080p video clip here. The actual size of the picture is a lot larger than that. And if I go over here and click this button that says adjust to original size, you'll see these numbers change quite a bit. That's the resolution of my actual picture. And now you can see in the video clip, it's much bigger and it doesn't completely fit onto the screen. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to set that back to my 1920 by 1080, and that shrinks the picture down to where it fits into the screen. Now, what I like to do here is just do a fit to width. And what that will do is it will actually manipulate the image and spread it out, but it's keeping the correct aspect ratio. So let me just show you what happens here. Now, my width is now at 1920 and the picture takes up that full space. But instead of 1080 now, my height is 1440. So in other words, I can move this picture up and down quite a bit, as well as side to side. That's something you'll want to keep in mind. You know, you can manipulate the way that the image is panned and zoomed on the video clip by manipulating the size of your photographs that are put together to do the frames of the video clip. So let me go back here and get this centered back up. And in order to fit to width, to take away the black bars, that zooms this picture in 133%. Again, you're not actually changing the size of the picture, you're zooming in on the picture itself. In order for me to do what I want to accomplish, I actually want to start this area in here as being taking up the majority of the screen. And I have the resolution to play with to do that in the original photo. I could leave it like this and actually align this to the left and align the top, and it would start in this area, but that's a little too big. So what I want to do is just fit it to where it fits this window, and I'm going to zoom this in a little more. In addition to this 133%, I'm going to go 200%. All right, now that's not quite as large as the original photo, as you can see here on these numbers. And so it's not going to be quite as drastic of a zoom in and a zoom out. Now that I've zoomed this picture in at 200%, I'm going to grab this center section here and move this image up and down and left and right until I get it to fit into the screen. So now I've got this clip pretty much where I want it to start out on the video. And the way I've done that is by changing the specifications on this keyframe. And you can see this little blue dot here that's highlighted. That's the first keyframe in this video clip. What I want to do now is add a second keyframe somewhere close to the middle here. And in order to do that, I've moved my cursor to the middle, which moves to the middle of this clip, or it's approximately the middle. And what I want to do now is add a keyframe here. So I'm going to come to this plus button, and that's inserted a keyframe. Now I can manipulate the image further, and it will transition from where it started to here and make a smooth transition through the panning and zooming. Now I'm just going to take the image back to its original state. And at this point, I'm going to fit it to width again. And now I want the image to be aligned to the top. So I just click the align to the top. So now the image is going to move from starting out in this area to being center of the screen and zoomed back out. And now for the final part, I'm just going to come to the end here and add another keyframe by hitting the plus button. And now I'm going to fit to width again. And now I'm going to align to the bottom. So now you can see the image has moved up to where you can see more of the ground and the lake. So again, we're going to start the image down in this corner zoomed in. So you'll see the upper left-hand corner of the original picture. At the second keyframe, it's going to center the whole thing up and zoom it out and be at the top. And at the third keyframe, it's going to move the photo down to where you can see the bottom of the photo. So when it all plays back, it will look like there's motion to the entire time lapse other than just the motion of the objects in the time lapse. Okay, now that I've done that, I'm going to come back down to my video line here. In Kdenlive, if you'll just hover around the corners, you can actually add fade in and fade out on the video by clicking and pulling down. As you can see, that red area, that red shaded area, that will be a fade in from black on the video. So you can manipulate these with your mouse, but you can go in and fine tune it on the editor up here, because once you pull that in on each side, it will add your fade in and fade out on your video clips. So I'm going to come down here, and on the fade from black at the beginning, I'm just going to up that to that amount, that 1 1/10 second. And on the bottom, I'm going to make it a little shorter because I'm going to be adding clips together here. So I want to set this one at about, I think I'm going to set this one at about 20/10 of a second. So you can see there's more of a fade in at the beginning, and at the end here, there's less of a fade out. But I'm going to be adding another clip, another time-lapse clip in here, and it will have this same size, so they will run together. The fade out will run into the fade in on the next video. So there will be a length of time here where there's black screen that's pretty similar to what's at the beginning of the clip. And I'm going to add in the second time-lapse clip. So again, I'm coming back to my project bin and adding the slideshow clip. And I'm going to come browse to my Time-Lapse 2 folder, which is right here. I'm just going to choose that. So in the frame duration here, again, I'm going to go back and set my frames to 4 and hit OK. Now that's pulled in the second slideshow clip, and I'm going to drag it down to my video timeline and put it beside the one we started with. And on this one, I'm just going to do a simple deal where I just expand the photo out to fill up the edges. And I'm going to start at the bottom of the clip and at the base of the tree, and at the end of the clip, it will pan up towards the sky. So on this one, I'm just going to drag this pan and zoom down here. You can also double click on this and it will open this dialog up. It's just whatever you prefer to do on that. Now, all I'm going to do is just do a fit to width of the picture. And I'm going to do align bottom. So it's going to start at the bottom of the picture and move up. And in order to do that, I'm just going to drag this over to the end here and add in a keyframe. And at this keyframe, I'm going to align to the top. So now you can see it will start at the base of the tree, and as the clip progresses, it will move towards the sky. And again, I'm going to come over here and pull in my fade in and fade out on the clip. And I'm just going to come back down and set those by hand to 20/10 of a second. Now I've got those where I want. And now I'm going to add in my third clip. So I'm going to come to add clip, add slideshow clip. Now I'm going to browse to my third time-lapse folder, which is this one. Hit choose, and that changed those files again. And I'm going to set my frames to 4 once again. And now I'm going to hit the OK button. So now we've got our third slideshow clip, and I'm going to drag that down to my timeline. And I'm going to do the pan and zoom once again. And on this one, what I'm going to do is zoom this whole thing in once again to 200%. And on this one, I'm going to start with the alignment at the top, and I'm going to drag this over, and we're going to start the video clip in this upper right hand corner, and we're going to pull it down at an angle towards the end of the clip. So it's going to start with the photo mostly of the sky, and it's going to pan down to the bottom where you can see more of the lake in this corner. And in order to do that, I'm just going to add another keyframe here at the end by clicking the plus there. Now I've got a keyframe here, and what I want to do now is fit to width and move this to where I have my alignment on the left hand side and at the bottom. So it's going to start zoomed out at the top and move down this direction. Now I'm going to pull in my fade in and fade out here on the video clip, and I'm going to come back and adjust those manually once again. Do 110 at the end, and on the fade in I'll do 20 once again. Okay, now that I've got all my clips put together the way I want to, I'm going to go ahead and render this whole group of slideshow clips together as one time lapse with black fade in and fade out transitions between the different clips. I'm going to go ahead and render all that together by coming to render. I'm just going to render these as MP4 files, and I'm going to name this clip test clip 1. Hit the save button and render to file. I skipped ahead a little. I'm sure nobody wanted to watch the rendering process. So I've got the file here. Let's take a look at that clip and see how it turned out. Okay, I think that turned out pretty nice. I do think I'm going to try to slow the whole thing down just a little bit. So in order to do that, I'm going to come in and add a clip in Kdenlive, and I'm going to find my test clip that I created. Drag it down here to the project, and I'm going to come up here to the effects and do a motion effect. And I'm going to go to speed. I'm going to slow that whole thing down to, let's just try 60%. All right, I'm going to render this clip out and we'll take a look and see what it looks like. I'm going to set this to MP4, and I'm going to title this one Test Clip 2. And save that to my desktop. And just render file. All right, that clip rendered. Let's take a look at it and see how it turned out. I think I actually like the slow down clip just a little bit better. It gives you a little more time to take in everything as it's going past, and all the panning and zooming in and out. You can kind of process the whole thing a little easier. I'm not an expert on time-lapse photography or editing video clips or anything like that. This is just a way that I found that worked really well. The program's free to use. I thought others might be interested in it. So I just thought I'd put this video out there in hopes that maybe someone else could make use of it for putting together some time-lapse footage of their own. I hope you liked the video, and take care and tight lines.